Okay, so this is question 3, 2016, paper 1. I just suggest you just pause this and just give it a go. Or hopefully have already attempted in advance. So we're looking here at, looks like a pretty easy question, okay? Always be looking at what can I do in terms of getting the attempt first before I even do anything. So this question says the word solve, which means you're going to be able to find a value of x. It's an equation because it has an equal sign. So the rules of algebra apply. So you have a mixture of terms, you see brackets involved. This thing here where it says x is an element of r just means x can be any number, but won't be complex. Okay. So if you're attempting this, I would just go left, right. What can you do to simplify? Well, the first thing that's obvious is you can remove brackets, and brackets always mean multiply. So you're going to end up now, I'm going to go to the answer. Okay, so we're removing brackets with multiplication. So 3 times x is 3x. Plus by minus is minus, 3 sevenths is 21, so the answer is minus 21. Plus 5 by x is 5x. Plus by minus is minus, 5 fours is 20, so you get the minus 20 here. And that equals to the right-hand side. You're now going to try to see, can you simplify anything by addition? So 3 apples and 5 apples, 3x plus 5x equals 8x. Minus 21 minus 20 is the same thing as minus 41. That equals your right-hand side. You're now trying to solve, you want x on one side, everything else the far side, so the minus 41 needs to move. When something goes across the equal, it changes operator. So it goes from being subtracted on the left to added on the right. Then do that little sum. 8x equals 15 plus 51 is, 15 plus 41 is 56. You now have 8 times some number gives 56. That number is obviously 7. But just to finish it out using algebra, 8 here on the left is being multiplied by the x. When it goes across the equal, it becomes divided. Now, always watch something I've mentioned again and again to you, is that when something goes across the equal, it doesn't change sign from plus to minus always, but it changes operator. So the 8 is being multiplied on the left, comes across to the right, becomes the opposite multiplication, which is division. And I do that sum, so 8 and 56 goes 7 times. Job done. Okay. You can always test your answer if you want by putting 7 back into the original equation. Sometimes you're asked to do that. And you'll see that left-hand side equals right-hand side, proving that you were right. Now, alternatively, you could have used a method here of trial and error, but you would have been testing all the numbers of x, from 0 to minus 1, plus 1, minus 2, plus 2. It would be very, very, very inefficient. Okay, so that's A. Now, part B here, this is simultaneous equations. Okay, they don't say it, but you have two unknowns, A and B, and you're trying to find out what they both are. Now, if I ignore the bottom equation, the top equation here has two unknowns. On its own, that's not solvable. You can only solve an equation of one unknown. Okay, so two unknowns, I just don't know what they are. But when you compare that to another equation of the same two unknowns, we can use a variety of methods to find out what one of the unknowns is, and then use that information to find out what the other unknown is. Okay, there's a variety of methods like substitution, elimination. In this case, these are two linear equations. Now, they're not linear in the sense of x and y. They're using a and b as variables. But if you were to graph these on an xy graph, now I don't know what they actually look like, but let's pretend they look like this. At some stage, they're going to intersect. They're not parallel, so they're going to intersect, and that would be their point of intersection, which is a way this question is sometimes asked. Okay, if I go straight to the answer here, I've gone through here in the text, okay, the gist of what's going on. So what I'm doing here is I'm using the elimination method. I'm basically looking at one variable and multiplying each equation 1 and 2, top and bottom, in order to make one of the variables match. Now, what I've picked here is I'm making the b's equal. Okay, so I'm doing that by taking my top equation, multiplying each variable by 2, in order to create the situation where I have positive 6b. I'm doing the same thing to the bottom equation, except this time I'm multiplying it by 3 to again create the situation where I have so the same magnitude 6b, but they're opposite in sign. So when you join the equations together, they cancel. Now, when you do that, okay, I end up with 8a plus 6b minus 6. Okay, so that's the top equation. Okay, just multiply by 2. The bottom equation, 5a times 3 is 15a. minus 2b by 3 is minus 6b. And lastly there, 25 by 3 is plus 75. Now I'm going to join both equations together, and you'll see when that happens, 15a plus 8a is 23a. Now 6b take away 6b is cancelled. Okay, 75 take away 6 is 69. So 23 times some number gives you 69. Well, obviously that number is 3. But using algebra, bringing the 23 across becomes divided, and you end up with a equals 69 over 23. And divide that in, you get an answer of 3. Now, as I've said in the last part A, but the biggest mistake here I'd see is the 23 comes across, it becomes divided, but it also becomes negative, and that's incorrect. The only thing that changes is the operator from multiplication to division. The sign does not change. Anyway, once I have one of the variables, it's an easy finish. I can pick either equation, top or bottom. I've chosen to use the top one here in the notes, and I'm substituting in the value I now know. So I know that A is 3. So when I substitute it in, I now have an equation of only one unknown, which can be solved. 4 3s is 12. So I'm simplifying that one step. Move the 12 across, becomes subtracted. Okay, so it was adding on the left, becomes subtracted on the right. There's a little sum there, minus 3 minus 12 is the same thing as minus 15. Bring the 3 across. I haven't shown it here because of lack of space, but 3 times some number is minus 15. That number has to be minus 5. Okay, so that's part B. Now, part C here, okay, I have an inequality. Okay, so these are, for some reason, students get incredibly scared of this. I would say to you, look, if you see an inequality, treat the symbol as if it was an equal. There's only one situation that becomes a problem, and it may or may not happen in this question. Okay, so even if you want to in your head, like leave it blank or put up an equals in a pencil, you can always overwrite it with the inequality if you're at that level. If you end up just solving it with an equal sign and not realizing when the inequality changes, you'll still get the majority of the marks. Okay, the last little bit here, it's usually irrelevant. In this case, they're saying that your answer X will be a natural number. So it'll either be 1, 2, 3, 4, whatever. Be a positive whole number, but won't be 0. Okay, so let's go stuck in and do it. Okay, so I'm looking at it, going maybe in a situation where I don't actually know like what I'm doing. Okay, and let's pretend that that's the situation. You want to aim for the attempt first. Okay, the low partial. You'll achieve that by most likely by removing the brackets. Just depends on the year and the marking scheme, but I can't see why that wouldn't be the case. So let's go to the answer here. Okay, I've rewritten down the top part here, and I'm going to remove the brackets. So 2 by 2x is 4x. 2 by minus 3 plus 3 minus is minus. 2 3 is a 6. Now the 6x hasn't changed here, and it's still less than 25. Go ahead now and do, is there anything else I can do in terms of simplification? Well, there's the obvious addition there of 4 apples plus 6 apples is 10 apples. Okay, that's all I've done in that step. It's just doing that little addition step. I'm now going to go, well, look, it's an equation of one unknown. It can be solved. It's just a matter of going ahead and doing it. I'm moving the minus 6 across the inequality. It just, like the rules of algebra, it was subtracted, becomes across, becomes added. So I'm now at this situation. That's a little sum you can do. 25 and 6 is 31. Okay, so 10 times some number is less than 31. It's going to be a fraction of your answer. Okay, so that's, yeah, okay. Now, this question, okay, now let's see, the situation that normally happens is not going to happen in inequalities, which will be if I had to multiply across by a minus or change the sign, the inequality would change direction. That's actually not going to happen here. When I divide the 10 and 31, I get 3.1. So x must be less than 3.1. Now the question said list all the values. I'm going to do it in a set form. So x can be 3 because x is less than 3.1. So 3 is the first whole number less than 3. 2 is a whole number less than 3. So is 1. Because they said the question that x is an element of n, it can't be 0, can't be negative 1, negative 2, negative 3. So the set finishes off at 1. It can't be 4 because x must be less than 3.1. Again, you didn't necessarily have to write them in set form, but it is a set of those numbers. So that's would be the most correct way of doing it. Okay. So here in the text box here, I have hopefully the explanation that would explain what I've done. Okay. So it's part C. I don't know if it's part D, is there? Okay. I put in here the the marking is I suppose a screen grab of the marking scheme and the model solutions for this year. Okay, there's the parts. There was a C classification, so 5C. You split them in 4, 0, 2, 4, 5. Okay, low partial was gotten by achieving any multiplication. You get the high partial by basically doing all the multiplication and basically probably ending here. Okay. Part B then was worth 10, part C was worth 10. The B grade, you see, there's only one jump in between, 0, 3, 10. Sometimes that's 0, 5, 10. Just this year, they changed the scales for this year. Might not affect another year. It's unfair in a sense because you only get 3 marks for doing some correct work. If you end up stopping even here, you're close, but you're not. You're still fairly far away. You'd only get 3. If you had a C classification or a D grading system, you'd have a wider variety of marks in order to give more reward. Anyway, the last part there is a D. It's a C scale, so it's split in 4. So, okay, that's the end of question 3. Okay, have a look back at it, and I'd say to try the question in a few days and see if you can do it from scratch. And if you can, you've mastered those techniques. So the techniques of basic algebra, simultaneous equations, and inequalities in one question. Okay, so thanks very much.